Real quick before the video starts, I have a new channel based around green text stories on 4chan, and I'll be uploading videos daily over there. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to the channel in the description. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Tallmonth in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I threatened to kick my father out of his family. I am a 25-year-old man, not from the United States, and I am not looking to get into legalities. I know where I stand on that." Some context: my father married his current wife when I was 15. She was very pushy with me because her relationship with her own daughter was almost non-existent. My father did nothing, and I ended up moving in with my grandfather, my father's father, a few months later. My grandfather passed away suddenly when I was 17, and I inherited all of his properties. Instead of me moving back in with them, they moved in with me at my grandfather's house. I left when I was 18 to attend college, and I go back home a few times each year. I let them stay there rent-free on the condition that they do not touch my room or my grandfather's office. The house has 4 rooms in total. Recently, I got a call from my father telling me that I need to clean out my room because they plan to turn it into a nursery. Apparently, my father's wife reconnected with her daughter, who is pregnant and does not have a place to stay. I denied his request and reminded him whose house it is that they are living in. I told him clearly not to touch either of those rooms unless they want me to kick them out. I explained that there is an empty room available and she can stay there, but he claims it is too small for both of them. I said that if they have a problem with that, they can move back to his own place where his daughter could then take my room. I do not even know if he still has that house. I believe I have been more than reasonable, but my uncle, who is my father's brother and does not have the best relationship with him, called me to say that I should think about it carefully and not kick them out. Update. The day I wrote the original post, I called Mrs. Lawyer to accompany me to the house so we could deal with this in a civil manner. On Saturday, we went early in the morning with the paperwork. Once we arrived and I tried to open the door, I had the unpleasant surprise of discovering that my father had changed the locks. A very big mistake. We spoke through the door and he told me that until I changed my mind, he was not going to let me in. I explained to him that I was not planning to kick them out, that I was there to resolve this the right way, but if he refused to let me in, then I would handle it my way. He still would not let me in. On my way to the police station, my uncle called me and told me that my father had asked him to convince me to change my mind, but my uncle said he would not do that and would support whatever decision I made. At the police station, Mrs. Lawyer explained the situation to the officers and they came with us so I could evict them without problems. Once there, the police spoke to them and told them they had to let me in and remove their belongings as soon as possible. I had already hired a moving truck for them. My father tried to fight back, claiming that he had sold his house and had nowhere to go and insisting that he was the rightful owner of this house. However, he had no paperwork to support his claim. In a last attempt, he brought up the fact that my stepsister is pregnant, but since she is still in the early stages, it did not change anything. After their performance ended, the removal of their belongings went quickly. Most of the possessions in the house are mine, apart from what they kept in their room and my stepsister's things. I am currently staying in the house and plan to remain here for the next few days. I have changed the locks and am installing security cameras. I spoke with my girlfriend about moving here and she is more than happy to do so. I'm also going to talk with my boss about the possibility of working from home, but even if that does not work out, it is not a serious problem. Without having to constantly worry about the house, everything else feels easier to figure out. That is pretty much it. I think I have covered everything. Thank you for taking the time to read about this mess I once called my family. Update 2. We had not heard from him until a few days ago when he showed up at the house. I was not there, but my girlfriend was. She told me that my father came to inform us that since we are now living in the house, we are required to host them for the Christmas holidays. Not only that, but he also gave her a list of the food they wanted and the gifts they expected to receive. My girlfriend told him to leave before she called the police. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong again. Yesterday, he came to visit us once more. Apparently, he had called my mother and invited her to spend the holidays with us. She dismissed him and told him that she would instead take my girlfriend and me to Europe for New Year's Eve. He had the audacity to demand that she take them as well, but my mother simply hung up the phone. Keep in mind, this was the first conversation they had since divorcing 16 years ago. He then came to the house demanding that I either convince my mother to include them or that we pay for their trip ourselves. At this point, his behavior stopped being merely disappointing and became comical. My girlfriend and I simply laughed at him, and we laughed so hard that we did not even notice when he left. I can admit that we never had the best relationship, but he was not always this entitled. It was already clear why my grandfather, his own father, had been so deeply disappointed in him, but it now seems that he wants to take his absurdity to an entirely new level. I do not know if he will stop, but I hope he does, at least for the rest of the year. Edit. I have a security system with cameras everywhere, so I will know if he shows up again. I also have other properties, and both my tenants and the people close to my girlfriend and me, including my neighbors, know what to do if my father tries to approach them in my name. I doubt he will attempt to break in when we are not home. When I evicted them, both my lawyer and the police made it very clear to him that he could face serious consequences if he attempted to enter this house or any of my other properties. Unfortunately, in my country, restraining orders are largely ineffective. It is far more useful to call the police immediately, and he knows that I have no problem doing so. Update 3. After the last incident with my father, everything was quiet and my girlfriend and I left for Europe. Christmas passed and there was no sign of my father. My friends who were taking care of the house reported no incidents. Everything was going well until I received a call from my uncle, my father's brother, on December the 28th. My uncle called to tell me that he was leaving the state and selling his house. He asked if I was interested in buying it because he was desperate to leave. He did not tell me why he wanted to leave, and I did not care. What mattered to me was that he was desperate, and this was my opportunity to fulfill my grandfather's wish. Before I continue, I need to give you some context. My uncle's house was my grandfather's childhood home. My grandfather gave it to him, but later regretted it. He left me the task of recovering it, and if I succeeded, giving it to my cousin Marie, my uncle's daughter from his first marriage. My uncle never acknowledged her, and that was one of the many reasons my grandfather had such regrets. My uncle does not know that I have contact with his daughter or that I know the entire story. If he did, he would never have sold me the house. Yes, he is that petty. I decided to play the family card and use his desperation to get the house cheaply. I already knew its approximate value, so I made an offer well below its worth to be paid in 3 installments. My uncle declined, saying it was too low and making it clear that he was not coming back. What he really meant was that he had no intention of contacting me again. I then told him that if he could wait until my return on January the 3rd, I would pay the same amount in one payment and also cover the legal fees and his moving expenses. All he had to do was pack his belongings, have his paperwork ready, and everything would be finalized that day. Surprisingly, he immediately agreed. When I returned, I purchased the house without any issues, and my uncle left that same day. The next day, I called my cousin and told her to come to my country as soon as possible. She lives in Europe, and I explained that there was one last thing my grandparents had left for her. She arrived a few days later, and I gave her both the house and the remainder of the money. She had to stay for a few days to sort out paperwork, and during that time, guess who decided to appear again? Yes, my father. Unbeknownst to me, my uncle had also promised the house to another buyer, my father. My father had asked him to wait a few days while he gathered more money, but by the time he was ready, the deal was already done. My uncle, not wanting to deal with him, simply told him that I had bought the house. Since my father knew he could no longer approach my house, he decided to try his luck at my new one, though he was in for a surprise. He knocked on the door and demanded that I give it to him. No one was inside at the moment, so he attempted to break in. Yes, he really did. We saw everything through the doorbell camera. My cousin does not speak our language, so I was the one who called the police on her behalf. Because the house is in an upscale area and my cousin is a foreigner, the police responded far more quickly than they had in the past. It is a shame that I do not have a photo of my father's face when he realized the house was not mine. It was glorious. With the help of my lawyer and me, my cousin pressed charges, and combined with my father's previous actions, he will now spend a few months in jail. Through some acquaintances, I also found out why my uncle was in such a rush to leave. He had managed to seriously anger his wife's family. I sent him a text message saying that if he enjoyed ratting me out to my father, I could do the same with his in-laws. I warned him not to come back unless he wanted to play stupid games. He blocked me right after that. He had already told me he was not returning, but I wanted to make sure he kept it that way. In the end, if my cousin decides to keep the house, this works in her favor since she does not wish to cross paths with him anyway. So yes, the year began with a bang. I have finally managed to rid myself of my so-called family, hopefully for good, and I can now focus on building my own with my girlfriend, free from the constant worry of unwanted people showing up at my door. Random N Dude said, if this man is Filipino, I would not be surprised. On my mother's side of the family, almost every man, except for one decent uncle who has his life together, has a second family. Cheating, separations, since divorce is illegal here, step-siblings, in-law drama, cousin marriages, children overseas who do not know the local language, you name it, and it has probably happened. I am usually not someone who enjoys drama, but after a while, you get used to it and stop caring. Sometimes you even become morbidly entertained by it. I do feel bad for my cousins over there though. Most of them have already given up, but they are tough. Life throws them its hardships and they do their best to handle it. They have had to grow thick-skinned. Charlie's Own Chaos said, I like that OP saw his father and uncle and decided forget that, I am not going to be a loser like them. This next post was made in the Make My Choice subreddit by a user named Lilium. The post is titled, I am in love with my only friend. Do I tell him? I'm an 18-year-old female and I believe that I am in love with my only friend, who is an 18-year-old male. We have been friends for close to 12 years. Our friendship has remained strong as we moved from elementary school to middle school and then to high school. He was one of the first people who never made fun of my English, my accent, or my home country. He truly is the best. Recently, we spent time together at our school's pool. We talked a lot, and he told me that I am one of the most important people in his life, that my well-being is always on his mind. One of the reasons he worries so much is because in the past, I was sexually abused, which I explained in a separate post, long before I met him. During middle school in another situation, he even stopped a man from forcing himself on me. He has always been so caring and I trust him with my life. Now, after he told me all of this, it only confirmed the deep feelings I have for him. However, do I tell him how I feel? I do not even know if this is how guys confess their feelings. Maybe he just sees me as a friend. Maybe this is simply how he talks. Please help me make my choice. Should I tell him? Update. At my school, we have to wait at the bus ramps before the buses arrive. While waiting in line, I finally told him how I felt. I said that he makes me feel safe and that I am at peace when I am around him. I also told him that I valued our friendship and did not want to ruin it, but I needed to tell him the truth. He listened to everything and became very quiet. His face turned a little red and he started giggling and chuckling a lot, which he usually does when he is very nervous. Then he told me that he liked me romantically too. He admitted that he had been scared to say anything before in case I did not feel the same way. But I do. We both ended up laughing about everything and it was not awkward at all. We got on the bus and listened to music together. When we got to our stop, he asked if I wanted to hold hands while walking and I said yes. We had to let go when we got close to my house because my parents do not want me to be close to boys due to the past traumas I explained in a separate post. I am unsure if I should tell my parents about us. They might actually like him because of how he once protected me in middle school, but I am still hesitant. Overall though, I am really happy that I told him how I felt. Edit, my parents do not know about our 12-year friendship. Ruining Your Synths said she is 18, so they have been friends since they were 6, and she has no other friends, but her parents do not know. To this, Eliza Breathe said, with how she described her parents in another post, I do not think she is allowed to meet friends outside of school, and they would have no way of knowing who she talks to at school. She is actually in a pretty terrible situation. Then to this comment, user Shar Murali said, geez, I just read through her other 2 posts. I realize it is probably an overcorrection because they blame themselves for not doing enough to protect her and for putting her in that position in the first place. This third post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named ex-wife still misses me. The post is titled, "I left my friend's birthday party after she didn't let me in her house. I am a 23-year-old female and I was invited to my friend Sasha's birthday party. She is also 23. The plan was for Friday at 8:30 in the evening. We would start at her house to have some drinks beforehand and then go out to bars. That day, I worked from 7 in the morning until 7:30 in the evening, but I really wanted to go. So I rushed home, ate dinner, got ready, and drove to her place. We had been texting the entire day about the plans, and she seemed very excited for me to join her and her friends. I am acquainted with her friends, though we are not especially close. I arrived at her house at exactly 8:30. I hung up the phone with my boyfriend and texted her to let her know I was there. She replied, "Okay," so I walked up and knocked on the door. I could hear music and people talking inside, so I knew they were there. Nobody answered. I noticed she had a Ring camera, so I waved in front of it, knowing that Ring notifies people's phones. Still, nobody let me in. I knocked louder and texted her again that I was at the door, but I was neither let in nor texted back. I knocked even louder and called out, "Hey Sasha, I'm here." Finally, I heard footsteps coming to the front door, but instead of opening it, I heard the deadbolt lock click, locking me out. I walked away and called my boyfriend to tell him what was happening. I explained that my feelings were hurt and that I wanted to go home. He convinced me to stay and try again, reasoning that it must be a miscommunication. I texted Sasha again saying, "Okay, I'm out front." She immediately responded, "Okay, sounds good," so I knocked again. Still, there was no answer. I then heard the music turn down and Sasha's voice saying, "Guys, I think she's here." So I knocked as loudly as I could and said, "Yes, I'm here, it's me." Footsteps came toward the door and once again I heard the deadbolt sound. The door remained locked and the footsteps walked away. At this point, I had been knocking for 12 minutes. I was so upset and angry that I left. I texted Sasha saying, "I have been knocking for over 10 minutes and no one let me in, so I'm going home." She immediately called me, but I did not answer because I was afraid I would say something out of anger that I might regret. She later texted me that she had looked through the peephole and did not see me. I believe that is nonsense because she literally had a Ring camera. I told her that my feelings were hurt and that I felt unwelcome. I never received a response after that. Am I the asshole for leaving? What could be the reasoning behind this? Update. Hey everyone, thank you so much for all the support. I really am blown away. A few things to add before I get into the update. Yes, I was at the right house. I had been there before. Yes, I tried to open the door multiple times and it was still locked. No, I am not a bot. My username is from Gravity Falls. My boyfriend told me to knock again because in his words, either this is a miscommunication or Sasha is a secret evil witch. Sasha had never done anything even remotely mean in the past, so he gave her the benefit of the doubt. Now on to the update. The next morning, one of Sasha's friends, Taylor, a 22-year-old female, texted me to ask if I was joining them for part 2 of the birthday celebration that night. It was the same plan. Drinks at Sasha's house first and then heading out to bars. But honestly, why would I go just to get humiliated again? I said no, but did not tell her why. A little later, Sasha texted me a long apology saying that she was sorry I felt unwelcome and that she truly wanted me there, insisting that she honestly had not seen me through the peephole. This gave me some relief and I replied, "That makes me feel so much better. I thought I was invited as a prank." She then responded that she was offended I would even think she would do something like that. Like what? So I said, "I would not normally think that because we are good friends, but after knocking on your door for 10 minutes with no one answering, I just started to get in my own head. I probably should have been harsher, but I felt too guilty being mean." She did not answer for a while, and when she finally did, she said, "So, dinner on Wednesday? Same time as usual?" Absolutely not, I thought. I'm about to get ditched again, but my friends and my boyfriend convinced me to make plans with her, saying the worst thing that could happen was that I would not have fun and simply not go again. Fair enough. We made plans and then on the day of, I was literally walking out of my house when my ceiling started leaking. It felt like divine intervention telling me not to go. So we rescheduled for the next day. Now I am usually very open to giving people second chances, but this all just felt off. I still do not believe her when she says she didn't see me through the peephole. Before our rescheduled dinner, I texted her and said that I had been wrestling with something and that I did not think I could get over what happened at her birthday party. I told her I did not see the friendship going any further. She responded with, "Is this a joke?" Then she argued again that she had not seen me, reminded me that she had already apologized multiple times, and said I seemed fine. But she added that if this was truly something I could not move past, she had nothing else to say. I never responded, and she never reached out again. In the end, I think dropping her was the best decision I could have made. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Thank you to everyone here for helping me stop excusing her behavior and see her for who she really is. I truly appreciate all of you. Kilo Jules said, I kept waiting to read the part where OP asks Sasha to explain why she was locked out twice, but she never brought it up. This is too strange. Sugar Sweet Sunny said, part of me wonders if there was someone else there who did not want OP to be there. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.